Lesson 5-10, Factoring Using the Greatest Common Factor. Now, at this point, you've probably gone through, or you have gone through, the distributive property. Now, the distributive property means you're taking a factor on the outside of the parentheses and multiplying it by every term inside the parentheses. But if you were to reverse that order, that would be considered factoring. So factoring is the inverse of the distributive property. So instead of multiplying, you're going to be dividing out a common factor. Now in this video, we're going to be factoring out the greatest common factor so we can break down the polynomial. So let's take a look at our first example. Here we want to factor out 12x cubed plus 24x squared y. So first thing we want to do is look at the numbers, the coefficients of 12 and 24. And we got to think, what is the biggest number I can divide out of both of those two numbers? Now it can't be bigger than the smallest number. So the smallest number here is 12. So I can't divide out a bigger number than 12. But 12 is a factor of 12 and 24. So that is the biggest number I can divide out. So I'm going to divide out of 12. Now if I look at my bases, or my exponents, or the variables with the exponents, I have to choose the one. If there's a common variable, which I do have an x in both, I have to choose the one that has the smallest number, because I can't take something out that a bigger number than I have available. So I can only take out an x squared out of both terms. I can't take out an x cubed because the 24x squared doesn't have 3 x's involved. And I cannot take a y out of both terms because 12x cubed does not have a y. So the greatest common factor would be 12x squared. Now what would I have left in the parentheses if I factor that out or divide that out? Well, 12 divided by 12 is 1. X cubed divided by x squared is x. Put my plus sign down. 24 divided by 12 is 2. X squared divided by x squared is 1. And then I need my y. So factored would be 12x squared times parentheses x plus 2y. And if I were to distribute, 12x squared times x is 12x cubed. 12x squared times 2y is 24x squared y. This next one, I have 3 terms here. So I have 8, 16, and 12. Well, the biggest factor that I can divide out of all 3 of those numbers would be a 4. And then I have x's in all of them. One has x to the 5th, x to the 4th, and the third one has x to the 3rd. And I have to take out the least amount, or like the exponent that's the smallest, so that would be x cubed. They also all have a y in it, so I can divide a y out. And the most I can take out of all 3 of them would be 2, so y squared. Now if I do the division to find out what I have left, 8 divided by 4 is 2. X to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd is x squared. Y squared divided by y squared is just 1. Minus 16 divided by 4 is 4. X to the 4th divided by x cubed is x. Y to the 3rd divided by y squared is y. Plus 12 divided by 4 is 3. X cubed divided by x cubed is 1. Y cubed divided by y squared is y. So that would be our answer when we factor out the greatest common factor of 4x cubed y squared. This third example, here we have a trinomial again. Divide out the greatest common factor of 6, 9, and 12, and that would be 3. They all have an x in it, and the least amount I can, or the most I can take out of all 3 would be 1x. I cannot take out a y because the third term does not have a y. So the greatest common factor is 3x. What do I have left? 6 divided by 3 is 2. X squared divided by x is x, and then y squared. Minus 9 divided by 3 is 3. X divided by x is 1, and I have y cubed. Plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. X squared divided by x is just x. So my final answer would be 3x times parentheses 2xy squared minus 3y cubed plus 4x. Next here I have a binomial. Factor out here, I can factor out a 6. and they both have t's. I can factor out 3 of those. That leaves us with 2t cubed minus 1. Now if I distribute 6t cubed, I would still get 12t to the 6th minus 6t cubed as my answer. Next, find out what I can factor out of both of these. And there is no common factor between 21 and 10 and w cubed and x. So this one would be considered prime because I can't factor it any further. Next, here, prime factor, factorize this one. The greatest common factor of 6 and 8 would be 2. They both have an m. I can take 3 out of those and then an n. And what do I have left? 6 divided by 2 is 3. I already have the m cubed and n. So then plus 8 divided by 2 is 4. M and then n. And our last ones. Here, 24, 18, and 12. Can factor out a 6 would be the biggest number I can divide out of all 3 of them. I have an x in all of them, and the most x's I can take out of all 3 would be 1x. 24 divided by 6 is 4. This would be x squared plus 3x plus 2. And our last one, 32, 48, and 16. The biggest number I can factor out is 16. They all 3 have a c, so it would be c cubed. They all have a d, and the most I can take out of all of them would be 5. 32 divided by 16 would be 2. C to the 5th divided by c cubed would be c squared. And then I have my d to the 5th. Plus 48 divided by 16 is 3. I have the c cubed. D to the 9th divided by d to the 5th would be d to the 4th minus, the greatest common factor is the last term, so that would be minus 1. So that is our lesson on factoring using the greatest common factor.